Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. So this week I was kind of thinking about what I wanted to film. I kind of just was in a little bit of a rut. I've had a weird week. I think I'm PMSing. Anyway, TMI. Point is, I was thinking about what I wanted to film and I was scrolling through my old videos and I saw a video I made like almost a year ago, I think. Time has flown. And it was my favorite product from 10 different drugstore brands. And I remember when I made that video, I was like, there are so many more brands I want to talk about, but I was making it, 10 brands. And so I thought, hey, let's make a part 2, right? So this is going to be a continuation of that video, and I'm going to be talking today about my favorite product from 10 more drugstore brands. I'll leave a link to part 1 in the description down below so that you can check that one out after this one is over, of course. So without any further ado, let's get into my favorite product from 10 more drugstore brands. So one of the brands that it absolutely pained me to leave out of part 1 of this video was Essence. Essence is really high quality makeup. I've tried a bunch of their stuff and the packaging kind of leaves something to be desired most of the time, and my favorite product from them is no different in that regard, but the quality of the makeup is really top notch, especially for the price. Essence is one of the brands at the drugstore that has been pretty resistant to like the steady increase in the prices of drugstore makeup. Like if you told me 10 years ago L'Oreal would be charging $20 for a bronzer, I'd be floored. But Essence keeps things really affordable, and my favorite product from them by far, although I have tried many that I really, really liked, my favorite is the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. This, for me, was kind of a surprise that I loved it so much, because I am a blinding, beaming, see it from space highlighter kind of girl. As you can see, I'm wearing a pretty glowy one right now. So when I heard that this was like an ultra subtle highlight, I thought, I don't know if I'm gonna like that much. But it is so beautiful. The formula of this is this really gorgeous, like baked texture. It almost feels like a face powder in how smooth and finely milled it is. And I was like, oh, this is gonna have no shine to it whatsoever. But look at that. Like the shine is definitely there, but it's not as over the top as some other highlighters. That being said, this is definitely buildable to like medium intensity, I would say. You're definitely not gonna get like the crazy wet blinding look from this, but that's why I love using this for like my professional events, if I have an interview, if I have a dinner that's kind of fancy that I have to be at, whatever kind of med school stuff I'm doing, this is kind of my go-to highlighter for that because it's very difficult to overdo. So between this gorgeous smooth formula, the really solid price point, which I think is $5 or $6, and the gorgeous subtle glow that this gives, this is such an incredible everyday friendly highlighter. And I would 100% buy this again, but I've had it for ages and I barely made a dent. So it also lasts a long time. So nothing not to like except maybe the packaging, but I can look past that. Another brand that it killed me to leave out of the first video was Catrice. Catrice is kind of Essence's sister brand, and devastatingly, they don't sell it on Ulta's website anymore. But I get pretty much all of my Catrice products from Amazon, and all the prices are the same. It's a very affordable brand as well. A little bit higher than Essence, I would say, but definitely not creeping up like a lot of the other drugstore brands are. My favorite product from Catrice is definitely their True Skin Hydrating Foundation. This product absolutely blew me away. I remember I bought this thinking, oh, I've heard some people talk about it and that it's good. And I spent, $10 on it on Amazon? And I thought, I'll give it a go. It's probably not going to blow my mind. Because I had tried their other foundation, the HD Full Coverage one, I think it's called. And it's nice, but it's not mind-boggling to me. I wore this to a party that I went to that night. It lasted the whole time, never budged, but never looked kind of dry and cakey on my face, which is something I kind of struggle with because I have dry skin. And so if I want a long wearing foundation, a lot of times that means it's gonna suck the life out of my skin. This is a hydrating foundation, and that claim kind of holds true in my opinion. It never makes my skin look dry or cakey, but it lasts an incredibly long time. The coverage is phenomenal. If you really sheer it out, you can get medium, but you can make it full very easily. And the finish is just beyond. It's got a little bit of dewiness to it, but it dries down to a pretty satin finish, and it blurs over every imperfection on my face. This is what I have on right now, and I literally feel like my skin is just so healthy looking and so just, chef's kiss. I love this stuff so much. This is one of my favorite drugstore foundations ever. And in my recent video about what makeup I would buy if I lost all my makeup tomorrow, this was my only like medium to full coverage foundation pick. And I would be pretty happy with that. If I wore this to every event I ever went to, my skin would be amazing. So best product from Catrice that I've ever tried is definitely this stuff. Highly recommend. Next, let's talk about Flower Beauty. I'm actually surprised I didn't talk about Flower Beauty in the first part of this video because they are one of my favorite drugstore brands. So Flower Beauty is such top-notch makeup. I mean, they really make high-quality feeling products. I could name so many things that could be the #1 product from that brand in this video. I mean, truly some of the top-notch makeup at the drugstore. But for me, the proof is in the usage I've gotten out of it, and so it has to be the Light Illusion pressed powder. And I know what you might be thinking, Maddie, what do you mean? What do you mean the proof is in the usage? That looks like you've barely touched it. All you did was put hard pan in it. This is my second one. I went through an entire one of these, literally used it up until there was nothing left in the pan. Now, if you know anything about my makeup collection, then you know I have a lot of makeup. And using something up for me is my greatest endorsement of a product. So the fact that I went through an entire, and pressed powders take a long time to use. I went through an entire one of these. I love it that much. This you can use as either a setting powder or a finishing powder. So I can use it under my eyes or all over my face. But for me, under my eyes is definitely my favorite way. It just looks flawless. It has a little bit of tint to it, so it also kind of brightens up the under eye, and it makes your under eyes look so smooth, just completely perfected. I've heard this said as a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finishing Powder. I don't have that personally, but my mom does, and I've tried it. I like this one better. I think it's more finely milled. I think it's creamier. I love this. So my #1 recommendation from Flower Beauty by far is this stuff if you want like the most perfect under eyes of your life. Like no joke, if I'm trying a new concealer, this is probably the powder I'm gonna try it with because I know that if it looks bad, it was the concealer and not this. Let's talk about Pixi. So Pixi is, look, it's a little bit pricey, okay? I hesitate to even call it drugstore pricing, but I have tried a fair few of their products and I know which one is my favorite. No question. It is their Brightening Peach Color Corrector Concentrate. This stuff I think is only $12, which to be fair is not that bad, especially when you consider some of the pricing of the rest of their line. $12. This stuff is pigmented. If I'm going for an under eye color corrector, a peach color corrector, I reach for this more than any other color corrector in my collection, and I haven't even come close to running out, although you can see I have a pretty decent sized dip. I'm not even close to being out of it. It lasts a really long time. A little bit covers your entire under eye. So for me, $12, yeah, a little pricey for a drugstore color corrector, but it has lasted me forever. It has not dried out even a little bit, and I've had a really long time. I'm pretty picky when it comes to color corrector because I'm also picky when it comes to concealer and powder I put in my eyes, and whatever you lay down underneath it, the formula of that product is going to affect how the concealer and powder lay on top of it. So it needs to be a top-notch formula. I have problems with some of the more popular ones, the Becca one more specifically, I guess Smashbox one now. It's really creamy and emollient, so I prefer to use that one by itself because I just don't like how it sits under concealer and powder. This one, though, is perfect. It's not too dry, but it's not too emollient. It has just the right amount of creaminess to it. The color is perfect. It's just peach enough. See right there? It's just peach enough to correct my under eye circles. If you are my skin tone and a little bit darker, I would say up to maybe light medium, this will work amazing if you are somebody who struggles with under eye circles. It makes such a huge difference when I use this under my concealer. And yeah, if I could tell you to get one product from Pixie's line, this would be the one, no question. And it's probably the most affordable thing I've ever tried from them. So that's a double win. I want to talk about the Ulta Beauty in-house line next, because in my mind, that's a drugstore line. I know that Ulta also sells high-end products, but their in-house line is fairly affordable. Most of their stuff doesn't go over about $20, which I think that qualifies as drugstore pricing. If you've been here before, you probably know what I'm going to say. I never shut up about how much I love this product. I use this constantly. The best product from Ulta Beauty's in-house line, by far and away, is their matte eyeshadow primer. I do not do powder eyeshadow without using an eye primer. It is an integral step in my makeup routine. So I've tried a bunch of them. And, honorable mention to like the Milani primer. That one's really, really nice. I've used the Sigma eyeshadow base. That one's nice. All of those are good. This one is the best. Even my MAC Painterly paint pot, I don't like as much as this. This is just the perfect consistency. It is just thick enough that a little bit goes a super long way. It's incredibly smoothing, and very importantly, it has just the right amount of a tint to it that if you are close in the ballpark of my skin tone, this will cancel out discoloration on your eyelids perfectly. And as somebody with super veiny eyelids, I really prefer that in an eyeshadow primer. So this checks every single box that I want in an eyeshadow primer. No joke, I cannot think of a powder eyeshadow that I own that doesn't perform phenomenally on top of this. This is the one that I know, kind of like that Flower Beauty powder. If I'm going to try new eyeshadow formula, I'm putting this down underneath it because I know this is not going to fail me, so it must be the eyeshadow if it looks like crap. So definitely the best thing from Ulta's in-house line. It's $12 full price, I believe, but Ulta runs sales on their in-house line all the time, so I think I got mine for $6 or $7, and I would pay the $12 and probably then some. This performs like a high-end product. It is fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. Next, I want to talk about LA Girl. I feel like LA Girl is an underrated brand at the drugstore, but I've tried a bunch of their stuff and I really like most of it. I feel like their quality is usually pretty solid. They've got a couple of flop products, but especially at the price point that they've managed to maintain with, again, all of the prices getting hiked up at the drugstore, I've been really impressed by LA Girl's quality. And the highest quality thing that they sell, in my mind, is their eyeshadow palettes. I am a huge fan of the LA Girl eyeshadow formula. This was the first one I tried. It's the Pro Artistry palette. Unfortunately, they do not sell this one anymore, but they do still come out with these 16-pan palettes in a bunch of different color stories. So if you see one you like, I 100% recommend you pick it up. The quality of these shadows is phenomenal. The matte shadows in here, they feel almost like a cream to powder shadow. Not quite. Like they're clearly a powder, but they are so smooth and buttery in texture. They blend like nothing on the eyes. And these shimmers are so rich and high impact and shiny. They look like melted metal on your eyelids. I have their eyeshadows on right now. I will tell you what I used for this look in a second, but as you can see, very shiny, very well blended. It's so easy to use, so high quality. Like, this is one of the best eyeshadow formulas at the drugstore, and I have tried a lot of eyeshadow formulas. This one is so good. I will say, if you're the kind of person who prefers a really thin shimmer because you're worried about exaggerating texture on your eyelids or something like that, this may not be the formula for you. I think you'd like the mattes still because the mattes are just like incredible. But these shimmers are pretty thick and kind of creamy and flaky in texture. I'll show you this silver one from this palette so you can kind of see what I mean. You can see it in the pans a little bit. You can see that that and that are going to be some really kind of thick, chunky formulas. So if that's not your jam, maybe don't. But let me show you this silver because it's one of my favorite shades from them. You can see it's really thick and creamy, but you can really, a little bit goes such a long way, and you can really kind of blend it out, and it will still just be like blinding. They're stunning. But yes, like I said, that 16 pan one, this specific one, is not available anymore. They do occasionally come out with them, so keep your eye out if that's something you're interested in. But in their permanent line, they do sell these Keep It Playful palettes. And I have two of the colorways. This pinkier one is Playmate. And this more neutral one, which of course is my favorite because I'm a neutral girly, is Downplay. It also has like a bonkers silver shimmer in it, so if this appealed to you, this is going to do a very similar thing. Today I used a little bit of both of these actually. I really like combining them because I prefer the mattes in this one with the shimmers in this one, because I don't think the orange goes that great with the pink. But yes, on my eyes today, I used this middle shade up here as a transition. I deepened it up with this shade. And in my very, very outer corner, I switched palettes and used this one right here. On the outer part of my lid, I used this satiny kind of chocolate brown metallic right here, which is very gorgeous. And as this kind of showstopper color on my inner lid, I switched palettes again and used this kind of golden, like neutral golden shade. It's so pretty. I'm going to swatch this one too. I have to. Look how reflective that is. It's just crazy. It swatches out closer to a little bit of a rose gold, I think, which, you know, makes sense with the color story of the palette. So if you're into really affordable eyeshadow, I think these are $10 each, which to me is a steal. Amazing. Definitely check out LA Girl's eyeshadow formula. You won't be disappointed. Next, I want to talk about Revlon, and I feel like if you're a regular on this channel, this is not going to be a surprise to you literally at all. Like, I feel like I've mentioned this product in probably at least half of my last 7 or 8 videos. I won't shut up about it, and with good reason, in my opinion, because it's the best thing I've ever tried from Revlon, and like one of the best things in my blush collection right now, period. And I'm a blush girl, so that's saying a lot. This is the Revlon powder blush in the shade Apricot. Will I ever stop talking about this? Not until something better comes along. This is such a workhorse blush. This blush is like a chameleon to me. That's how I've been describing it when I talk about it. This blends in with any look. If you're doing warm looks, this will make your cheeks look warm. If you're doing cool tone looks, it's pink enough to match mauve, you know? If you're doing something super neutral, this will make your cheeks just look that very simple nude pink. It is perfection. And it just blends in with my skin tone so naturally. This is what I have on today, obviously. It's perfect. I can blend it on top of different colors of blush as well to really add a little bit more warmth in. That's what I did today. I used another one of these products to make it a little bit warmer underneath and then use this on top. This is so good. And in addition to being the absolute perfect blush color, it is a phenomenal formula. It's super smooth, a little bit much fallout for my preference. I kind of wish it wasn't quite this powdery, but it really doesn't make a difference in how it performs on the face. I just kind of tap my brush a little bit before I use it, and I've never had a problem. It never leaves that like big stamp on your face. It's very easy to blend into the skin. It is just perfection. It's actually not a shimmery blush, which is crazy because if I'm gonna use a powder blush, I'm more of a cream girl. But if I'm gonna use a powder blush, generally I want one that's shimmery. This one is not, but it's not a flat matte. It has the perfect kind of satin sheen to it that just makes your cheeks look so healthy and alive. I have waxed poetic about this blush on this channel many times, so I am gonna shut up about it. But like, if I haven't convinced you to try this yet, maybe this will be the time. If this isn't the time, I'll probably convince you later because I just keep talking about it. Anyway, it's great. Seriously, if you're anything even resembling my skin tone, I think you could really go up to medium skin tones as well. It's a must. Truly a must. Revlon's best work. Let's talk about number 7. So I know number 7 kind of gets viewed as mostly a skincare brand, and I feel like that's kind of the direction they're pivoting, but they do have some really solid makeup products that I've tried, and I wanted to tell you about my favorite. This is the number 7 Lift and Illuminate Face Powder. I'm gonna try not to blind you with it. Yes, another face powder in this video. I can't stop. This is actually incredibly similar formula-wise to the Flower Beauty one, which is kind of part of why I love it. I would say you probably don't need both, to be fair. You know, I tried both of them, but like having used and loved both of them for a while now, you probably don't need both. And they're so similar that it's almost hard for me to come up with ways that they're different. Like, honestly, I would just buy whatever you can find for cheaper because truly they are so unbelievably similar. This one does exactly the same as the Flower Beauty, smooths over my under eyes. I can use this to test concealers with as well, and I will know it's the concealer if it looks bad. This also works as an all-over finishing powder if you want like a little bit more of a natural matte, kind of blurred out, perfected look. This is also purportedly a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Powder, but again, I actually think this one works better than that one. It's so similar to the Flower Beauty that I feel like I should probably just leave it at that because I already spent so long talking about that one, but this is another incredible option if you're looking for a solid setting or finishing powder. For me, I prefer it under the eyes, just like the Flower Beauty one, and it does have also that really creamy, finely milled texture, along with a little bit of that tint to it, so that it does actually brighten up your under eyes. So if you're deeper than me by a significant fraction, this probably wouldn't work that well. That being said, I'm pretty sure the Flower Beauty one comes in multiple shades. I don't know if this one does. Anyway, this one, just as amazing as the Flower Beauty. I absolutely love this. Let's talk about a brand that I've been getting into more recently, JCat Beauty. So JCat Beauty, I feel like used to have a lot more hype like several years ago, but they're still available on Ulta. They're still coming out with new products, and I think they make some really solid stuff. I've tried some of their products. I'd like to try more of their line, but the best thing I have tried from them so far, and this is not super old in my collection. I haven't had these for very long, but they have become instant favorites for me. These are the JCat Blush Mellows. Wow. Okay, so these are cream blushes. They are super like squishy and putty in texture, which is fun to me. I kind of like that. They apply like kind of a cream to powder finish, so they will set down and kind of dry to a powder finish. The pigmentation of these is crazy. So I genuinely believe these will work on all skin tones. They're so easy to blend that on someone even as pale as me, I can make it work easily, but you can also blend them up to be ridiculously pigmented. Might I add, these cost like $5 at Ulta, full price, and they put the JCat stuff in the sale page all the time. I think I bought these each for like $3.50. Insanity that I paid that little for something this high quality. I'm gonna swatch the ones that I have for you. I'm gonna do a full pigment swatch, but be aware these sheer out absolutely perfectly. So the shades are kind of hard to decipher online, so hopefully this at least helps a little bit. I only have 2 of the shades, but there's a very high likelihood I'll get more. I really, really like these. So my first shade and my favorite is the shade Thank You Very Much, because it is this like terracotta orange warm deliciousness. There's that. It's pretty punchy, I'm not gonna lie, but I used this one underneath Revlon's Apricot today to give it just a little bit more warmth and kind of that sunburnt look. So if you mix this with like a pink, you're gonna get like gorgeous sunburntness. I mean, I use this by itself also because I don't mind an orange terracotta thing. It's so good. The other one I have is the shade Tutti Fluffy. This is very pink. That is that one at full pigment. It's kind of a warm, corally almost pink, which again, for me, considering that I love the like sunburnt look, this shade also does that very well. This one might actually be even more pigmented than Thank You Very Much. I just tried to blend that out, and that's what it ended up looking like. I mean, it will blend all the way out. Like if I had more room, I could blend this until it looked like an acceptable blush color. But I will say, if you're pale, use a light hand until you figure out the right amount to kind of pick up. But if you're deeper, these will be amazing because the pigment will pop on your face. You can build it too. Like you can literally build it from that and make it even brighter. It's crazy. These are so versatile. The formula is really fun. It blends like a dream. Cannot say enough. Also, they're ridiculously cheap. Like, again, if I haven't convinced you, I don't know what more you're looking for. I know I haven't tried everything they've ever made, but I cannot imagine they make anything better than this. Okay, and last but not least, I mean, maybe least. Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to talk about Morphe, right? So I don't really buy from Morphe that much as a rule. I do sometimes find their stuff in like TJ Maxx or Marshalls, and if it interests me, I'll pick it up. But I don't know, kind of shady business dealings. They were a big deal back in like 2016. So I've tried a decent amount of their product line, so I know which things were really great and which things were pretty mediocre. I don't really feel like any of it was super, super standout except for this one thing. So this is the one thing I'm bringing to you. And the one thing that I will continue to buy from Morphe, even though I'm like, yeah, not my favorite company business-wise, but I'm not going to stop buying the setting spray. It's so good. This is the jumbo size. I went through an entire normal-sized can of this and then bought the jumbo one when it went on sale because I love this. This is one of the best setting sprays. And I kind of wish it wasn't because, again, like, you know, it's Morphe. They're kind of, but, dude, it's so good. The formula is perfection. It makes your makeup last, which is what you want a setting spray to do, but it also just kind of melts everything together, which is my favorite thing that setting sprays do. So this one does that absolutely perfectly. The smell's not super overwhelming, which is important to me. If I'm spraying something super fragranced in my face, it bugs the crap out of me. This one, it has a scent, but it's not super in your face, and it fades once it dries. But the best thing about this is the sprayer. It looks like a can of hairspray, doesn't it? It sprays like one too. It is the finest, most perfect mist there ever was, because it's basically in a hairspray can. It makes my makeup look amazing. As a matter of fact, I didn't put any on, so. I feel like I could just do that. Just go for ages. Minutes at a time, I feel like I could do it. I want to drench myself in it and look like a glazed donut. So, you know, if you're the kind of person who's like, not really feeling Morphe, that's okay. There are other good setting sprays. But if you're open to buying from Morphe and that doesn't bother you, I really, really would recommend you pick this up. Now, caveat, I've never tried the matte one and I've never tried the luminous one. Those have nowhere near as good of reviews as this one does. So, cannot promise the same results if you buy one of those. But if you buy the original, it's one of the best setting sprays. It just is, all right? So, yeah, from Morphe, their best product by far, by a lot, is the setting spray. So that's it, you guys. Those were my favorite products from 10 more drugstore brands. Please let me know in the comments, what is your favorite product from any of the brands that we talked about today? Make sure to check down in the description. I left a link to part 1 of this video. It's one of my oldest videos on my channel, so things have improved a lot since then, but you know, she tried. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more from me about drugstore makeup, high-end makeup, I do a lot of swatching videos, I do all kinds of stuff. If any of that sounds interesting to you, please hit subscribe down below. I would absolutely love to have you, and until the next one, bye you guys.